Hello, my darlings. Welcome to People of Theatre. And today I'm really happy to get the chance to talk to Sophie Besse. Hello, Sophie. Thank you very much for inviting me here over to film. Well, actually, we were planning to go to Finsbury Park, northern London.
Yeah.
But not today because
of London weather.
London weather is pouring water outside, and we wanted to actually take these men here.
Yeah, who's very disappointed.
You can see. And actually, when I came in, he was so happy, to finally see me and say, let's go out.
Yeah.
But not today. When did this love happen?
He's nearly 5 years. Yeah, 4.5 years.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
You always got touring with your company, and how do you take care of him when you're away? Do you take him with you?
No, not when we're touring. No. And even in rehearsal space, usually dogs are not allowed. So, but my partner, he also works from home, so quite a lot. So we take turns, really.
So, Borderline.
Yeah.
There was the first show, I think, that you produced and directed for the refugee issue. When was the time that you thought, this is the time to do this show? I need to do it now.
I think it was after a year or so doing some volunteer workshop in Calais. I used to go there maybe once a month for 3-4 days, and doing volunteer work and cleaning stuff, cutting food, chopping vegetables and stuff. But also I ran some workshop there, different kind of art workshops. And I realized that each time I was mentioning Calais to my friends or family or people were usually quite scared for me and worried. So I realized that there was a very strong negative narrative around refugee. Not necessarily in a mean way, could just be a bit fearful or pitiful, but definitely nothing positive. I witnessed a fashion show in the Calais jungle, a genuine one. They did a fashion show with all the silly donations they had received, so wedding dress and all of that. And that was absolutely hilarious. And I thought, oh my God, people don't know about that, the resilience, right. So there was really a thirst for life, and yes, what they created, even just the jungle in itself was an amazing space in a way.
Yeah, I guess.
There was a hairdresser, Turkish bath, restaurants, and I was like, oh wow, all this without money, without any kind of support, and you still want to go to the hairdresser and the Turkish bath.
It was a strong community.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I wanted to show this side of it. Yeah. So I thought, okay, I'd like to try and create something with the people involved, because that's how we work with my theatre company, Psychedelight. Our aim is really to give a platform for people to express themselves and be heard.
How about the cast? You mentioned before a little bit, but how did you get all the actors involved? Because it's not just about professional actors.
So I first met, I'd say, 3/4 of the cast for Borderline, for the first show, the satire of Calais jungle. For me, it was very important as this show was not only about acting skills, but very much about the commitment and the human adventure behind it. I think, that's the whole point. Borderline is not a show only, definitely not. That's the top of the iceberg. And then for Welcome to the UK, and we had some women coming thanks to Women for Refugee Women. So for me, it was a really strong and important experience. Mixing these people together. It was the first time that these women were working in a mixed gender group, so that was quite a big step.
I guess so. Yeah. How did you cope with all these challenges, language and a mixed gender group, different countries, I guess also different difficulties probably?
I think at the beginning I've been over precocious, and I had a good thought about it. I was like, well, actually no, they're extremely strong to be here and to be willing to do this. That's very brave. Barra says that, and I think it's very, very true. Helping someone is not about coming with your solutions and with what you think you should do or should be done, but it's about listening to what they need.
Mm-hmm, sure.
And they know what they need and they know what they want. So if this woman, for example, was going to come in this group knowing she had seen borderline, she knew exactly the type of things we were doing in a mixed gender, it meant she was ready to do it.
Right.
And she wanted me to welcome her in that place and to help her achieve the best she could to convey her message.
Mm-hmm.
She was not there for me to look at her like
to cuddle her or...
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I had a talk with Debbie one day. I remember I said, Debbie, you know what? We were looking at the song. She wanted to write a song to convey her story. And I said, Debbie, I need to ask you that. How much do you want people to know? Like, do we stay quite vague? I said, no, I want people to know everything. Wow. I was like, okay, fair enough. Let's go for it then.
How was the rehearsal process?
So I'd say more the creation process,
mm-hmm.
because there was no script originally, yeah. So we created the script together. We started by thinking about what were the important things we wanted to talk about. So we had even more people involved actually in that phase. In the first week we had maybe 20-25 people involved. I brought some pictures, you know, they chose picture they liked, they said why they liked it. You know, themes started to come up of what was important for them. They talked about their experience of the UK, their asylum process. We created images. I love to do that, to work with sculpting, to help people who struggle with English, you know.
Right.
So you create visual images. How do you feel? How was it at home office? Can you show me, you know, a picture?
Oh, wow,
so you take people and you create a tableau like that. And so we had different techniques to help with that. And then we had a long time trying to figure out where this would happen. So little by little, the idea of a fanfare came up. It completely clicked with putting together the women and the men's story, because there was very different stories. Right. Yeah, the asylum process and women trafficking. So I was like, oh, that's going to be tricky to put that together. But then as soon as fanfare came up, I thought, okay, yeah, of course, haunted house, that can work.
It worked really well. It was
yeah.
really like, yeah.
So that's how it came up, really.
The use of comedy was a little bit of a challenge, in order to address this quite delicate and dramatic issue. How did you come up with the idea of using this genre for this story, and why? Well,
the comedy for me is magic. First, it was very important to convey a positive image. I didn't want to trigger pity. I didn't want to trigger sadness. I wanted people to leave the show wanting to go for a drink with the guys. Yeah, that's really, so comedy is really good for that. Besides, I think it's a really nice little protection filter for the performers to address their stories, but I guess in a different angle, with a different twist. That is quite magic for me, because it allows it to be really violent, very violent, where you would probably not address it directly like that. If you take the story of women trafficking, you know, the song "One Man In, One Man Out," you know, it's quite terrible. And I'm not sure she would have been able or I would have been wanting to address it so directly without humor. I think humor helps
to smooth a little bit.
While addressing very violent issues. And I think it's very hard to address these violent issues directly, because it's not digestible for an audience, and it's very violent for a performer, especially when it's about your life.
Sure. That's what a refugee smells like. What was behind that line?
The scene is about a policeman very happy, and he's taking his dog to go and look for some refugees, you know. So we had this idea of the dog because, you know, as me, like a lot of people pet their dog, and obviously dogs is a horrible experience for people in Calais, because they find the refugees on the train, they run after them, they bite them, you know, it's horrible experience. And policemen as well, of course, you know. So we thought, okay, let's take it to the complete opposite. We take the horrible policeman, but when he's at home, he's like, oh, Munu, with his dog. They just, oh, we're going to go and look for some refugees, you know, like it's the little treat thing, you know. You can have a dog. So we thought, okay, let's push it to the really horrible, and then the dog gets really excited. So Peter's amazing doing the dog, really excited, And then we thought, okay, it'd be fun if he runs into the audience, and so the audience has a bit of a, what's this dog coming to me? And then we needed a way to take him back to the refugees, and I guess we address racism, so you take a Palestinian scarf, you know, and no, that's what a refugee smells like.
Welcome to the UK. Was that a sequel for Borderline, or how did you come up with that idea?
That was very easy, actually. So we did Borderline. We always had a Q&A after all our shows, and we kept on having the same question in each Q&A. How is it for you now, guys, that you're in the UK? So we just thought, okay, people don't know. So we kept explaining in the Q&A, you know, it's actually not easy and not sorted, the 28 days and all of that. And we thought, you know what, we should just make a show about it.
Right.
So it just came very naturally.
What was the feeling about having, also European actors processing the feelings of the Brexit issue, and the refugee having their feelings about their refugee status? How was that kind of like level of understanding?
I think that was the big difference, because for Borderline, the European performers were there mainly to support the work and the stories of the refugee performers. In Welcome to the UK,
it's their story as well. To
exactly, but it was not originally. It was not going to be about Brexit at all. It was really about how is it, you know, for refugees in the UK, blah blah. But then when we started working with women refugees, obviously the story of trafficking came in the room. And then it happens that in our cast, I'm French, there's another French actress and an Italian actor. And when we started to say, what's the UK for us? Boom, everything. So then I felt very uncomfortable. And I said, okay, guys, but, you know, this show is not about us, and then Bara interrupted me and said, no, sorry, I completely disagree. In this show, we're all in the shit, and I love that. And I said, okay.
And it was so true.
Fair enough, then.
And Q&A spreads with Sophie Besse. Thanks a lot. Here we are. Oh, here it is. I forgot a drink. Well, she wasn't sure if she liked it, but she loves it now.
It's amazing. Delicious. 11 a.m. I have to say that, no? That's important.
It's very relevant.
It's very relevant.
With a very intense work day ahead.
Yes. Thank you very much.
It's a good start. Actually, when's the last time you got drunk?
Well, that's a good question. I don't know. I think long time ago.
Too much work.
Too much work. Yeah, I know. I've got a boring life. Or, you know, it's just like, it's true. When you live in this country, you feel like people are getting drunk every other day. But
It's very
no,
English.
I mean, for me, like drunk is something. Yeah, my teenage, otherwise tipsy. But like, I hate being. I don't get
Me
it.
too. I like to be tipsy, but
Yeah,
not
yeah,
drunk.
me too. So the whole people getting out of the pub at 8 p.m. already vomiting on their shoes.
No, you get out of control and no.
I don't see the pleasure.
It's of
but yeah.
that. So you mentioned before that actually you were trained also in psychotherapy.
Yes.
How did that come about?
So I first wanted to be an actress. I started drama when I was 10, and I did 8 years of that, and I did a drama school in France, very good drama school, but then realized that I hated the industry. And I saw a film at that time where, a woman was giving drama workshop in prison, and I completely fell in love with that. So I trained as psychotherapist, criminology, and I worked in prison. So
how do you make them work together, psychotherapy and theatre making? What are the elements that you bring in your creative process from the psychotherapy?
So I wouldn't say that I used psychotherapy in Borderline at all. Like, it's not psychotherapy, but there's definitely some element of it that are very fundamental in the way that I try to always take a step back and make sure that this is a place where it's respectful,
Right.
people are committed, it's safe, and so people can express themselves, and it will always be supported and not judged. For example, Abdurrahman, he doesn't talk much when we devise. First, there's a language barrier, and second, it's not necessarily his main way of expression. But I know that he struggles with sleeping sometimes, quite often, at least at the beginning of the process. And so I said, Abdurrahman, would you show your nightmares? Would you like that? And he said, yeah. And so it was really, really interesting, because he doesn't talk much, but if he's in charge of something, like, he's brilliant at it. Like, he's really, really committed and very, he owns it massively, big time. So I said, okay, Abdurrahman, how many people do you need for your nightmare? I said, I need someone to do my wife, and I need like 4 people. So, okay, brilliant. So you choose them, you go in the group, you choose who you want to do your wife, who you want to. So he chose everyone, and he directed the scene completely. And it was really interesting, because at some point someone said, no, but it's not like that you hold a knife. No, it's like that in my nightmare. Fair enough, that's your nightmare.
Wow.
So it's not only theatre. There's an element of releasing some kind of pain, maybe.
Tell me a little bit about the Together workshop. And I haven't been there yet, but I'm really planning to.
It's basically a place for people from all backgrounds to meet and have fun together.
It's not about actors or aspiring actors.
No, it's not about aspiring actors at all. It's more about the vibe of Borderline, which is different people with different languages coming together and have fun and meet. I think we're in a state now where it's absolutely, racism and all of that is at its peak.
And Europe, I guess.
And exactly, and it's a place to bring communities together. We do games, things that are not non-verbal but don't involve language so much. Or if they involve language, we explore all the different languages, and it's really, I guess, to fight the fear, to give an opportunity to meet as well, because people might be keen to meet, but they don't have the opportunity.
Do you know where to go for that? Yeah.
Exactly, both European people and asylum seekers or whatever. So now they have a place. And we promote it in the show. We say, you know what, if you like this show, if you like this vibe, just come to our workshop.
Let's go. Good. It's the time to throw my first card.
Wow.
I love it. So what is theatre great at?
For me, it's the connection with the audience. It's to be on stage and feel the audience. You hear them breathe, you hear their silence. It's something completely unique.
And also because you have such a very diverse audience. Some nights you have more people from one country and another night from another country. So the reaction is always different, the connection is different.
I remember there's a bit in the Welcome to the UK where Mohamed and Wasik, they hold banners and they are going to the Sudanese embassy to demonstrate. And this was not in the show at all at the beginning. But then things in Sudan started to get really, really bad, and I could see that they were both on social media all the time and going to the embassies every Saturday to demonstrate. And so it was like 1 week before we opened the show, I said, guys, do you want to put it in the show? You know, because that's part of your life here, and how painful it is to be far away from your country while this is happening. And they said, oh, yes, please. I said, okay, we can't change the whole show, but we can definitely find a moment where you're going to the Sudanese embassy to demonstrate, yeah? I remember one night they did it, and then people started clapping and standing, like they had standing ovation, because they were like half of the room was Sudanese, you know? And they, each time there were Sudanese people, after each show, they came to see us and they said, thank you. Wow. Thank you. That was so important for me that it was said.
Are you a Londoner?
Am I a Londoner? So we're heading towards the delicate question, aren't we? Yeah. So I'm very much a Londoner. I fell in love with London 15 years ago. Absolutely fell in love.
Wow, you've been here for 15 years.
Yes, absolutely. I fell in love with the buzz, you know, with the diversity, with like, completely fell in love. Of course, now it's more tricky, and I don't know. I'm still in love because I can see the support we still get, and that feels very, very nice. But as a European, you know, for me, I don't know where things are going to go.
If you had the chance to take me on a date, where would you take me? If you had the chance, love.
If I had a chance, does it mean I don't have a chance?
I'm not sure. I'll think about it.
Oh, that's terrible. Well, I went to this restaurant, which was really, really fun. I'm not sure it would be the best place for a date, though, but I just think about that. It's called Restaurant dans le Noir. It's near, I think it's near Angel or some, if I remember well, or Islington. And it's all in the dark. But like in the dark, like if you were blind.
Okay.
You have no phones, nothing that could generate any kind of light. And it's actually led by blind people who take you into the space. You don't know what you eat. It's surprise.
Ooh.
So it's really fun. It's a bit noisy because people tend to talk quite loud, but it's really, really fun.
Good, but we're not. Now let's get more political. We were anticipating it. You're French.
Yes.
I'm Italian.
Yes.
We both. You've been living here much longer than myself. We can't ignore it. Brexit. It's on the plate.
I know.
Actually, have you applied for the EU settlement?
Well, typically me, I've done the half one. So I've got the resident card. So I've got this bit, but I haven't applied for the nationality yet. I have struggles with that.
And it's a lot of money as well.
It's a lot of money. Part of me wants to do it to be able to vote and try to save this country.
Imagine in the camera.
Yes.
It's a Brexiter.
Oh my God.
What would you tell them? That's it. So yours.
Well, first I think it's tricky. You're several person probably, which is a bit of an awkward because I'm not sure there's a Brexiter. I'd say that if you voted for Brexit because you're scared about the refugees coming in, the fact that you can't share, you can't welcome the misery of the world. I completely understand that, and I think it's fair enough. I don't think it's true though. I think if you don't have the money you need for your life, unfortunately, it's not asylum seekers who's taking it. They have £5 a day when they arrive, so that's definitely not where the money is going away. We can do great things together, and we can learn from each other and support each other, and support you as well. I think it's not only about the others. So yeah, that's my message to the Brexiter that I understand, at least, because there are some Brexiters that I don't understand, and I'm not completely ready to talk to them right now. But these ones, yes.
Oh, okay. Very happy now to throw these away.
Yeah.
Why can't I do it?
It's too much.
There's too much.
Too much alcohol.
Too much alcohol. It's getting that. Oh, good. Very good. The first questionnaire.
Wow.
Let's find out who Sophie really is.
Oh no,
Oh, gosh.
let's not.
Let's not. What is your idea of perfect happiness?
Oh, perfect happiness. Oh yes, perfect happiness, I know. My friends and people I live with, playing cards like we do regularly, with them cheating, and that I get terribly upset about that because I can't trust any of them, which is terrible. And usually one of them has cooked amazing food and my dog is sleeping on my feet not far away from that.
I don't really know how to process all of that.
That's perfect happiness for me, with my kids involved, of course. Yeah.
Sweet. What is your current state of mind?
My current state of mind, very driven to try to continue what I believe in, so working hard, and at the same time a bit completely unsettled by the ground moving under my feet with what's happening in the world, so not completely sure. So basically working really hard at the same time as being on a surfboard or something like that, thinking, oh my god, okay, I'll have to be adaptable because I might just have to change my gear completely. So yeah.
On what occasion do you lie?
On what occasion do I lie? Oh. I'd like to say when I don't want to hurt people, but that sounds too nice as an excuse. It's quite true though. Like if I can't do something or I can't go somewhere because I don't know, like there's too much going on or there's a problem I don't want to talk about, or I might invent a little bit of a lie to, yeah. Because I guess I lie when I don't dare telling the truth. That's really shit and so sorry. When I don't want to talk about personal stuff and I want to give an excuse.
That's it. If you could change one thing about yourself, what would it be?
For the first 18 years of my life, it's been my nose. That was an obsession. Now, one thing about myself, what would I change? I don't know. No, that's the good thing when you take care of other stuff and other people, is that you don't really have time to look at yourself in the mirror anymore. Okay, let's stick with my nose then.
Your nose. Okay.
Cool.
Who are your favorite writers? Ooh.
My favorite writers, I guess I'll stick to the old ones that I used to love when I was. I love Stefan Zweig. He's Austrian and he writes beautifully, and he's very, very good at depicting feelings and complicated feelings. And yeah, I love his writing.
Which talent would you most like to have?
Can I choose two?
Yes, please, go ahead.
So,
just for today.
Thank you. So I'd love to know how to draw. I come from a family, my dad is an artist, my son is an artist, and I can't do anything with my finger. It's terribly, terribly frustrating, especially as I think I've got a good eye. And I can't. I can't
but
put the image on paper. I know, but it's frustrating. And music, I'm really crap, and my partner is a musician, and so yeah, I'd love that.
Sweet. What is your motto?
My motto. Together we can make it happen.
And you're doing it. Sophie Besse, thanks a lot for being with me.
You've been very crap with your cards. I'm sorry, I just have to say.
Today was really bad performance.
That's because I gave you half of mine.
It's true. There's a proof about it. Well, thank you very much.
Thank you.
And you guys, thanks a lot for watching me, and please do visit my website, peopleoftheatre.com. Follow me on Twitter and like me on Facebook and love me on Instagram. And I'll see you next time.